Is this a tea though? It says melon milk blend. Oh, passion. So this one's the tea. Okay. This is one of the ones I just freestyled. Honestly, I'm like, yo, I'm in Asia. I can't just stay in Thailand the whole time. I can't stay in Japan the whole time. I want to see something nearby. Kids playing on the playground, enjoying themselves, having a good vibe. However, this time is a little bit different. I notice as I stand far away observing the kids play that something's different from what I'm used to seeing. All the kids I've seen appear to be a different racial background. Now, the year is the early 2000s. I'm a child visiting Toronto, Canada. I'm originally from Ohio, and where I grew up is typically only black and white people. Now, I don't want to make this video a racial thing, but as a kid, I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever to go to Canada as a kid and see all these kids of all these different racial groups playing together. And then I went to the grocery store, to the cereal aisle. I grabbed my favorite cereal, but as I look on the back, I notice it's in French. I say that to say this. This is ultimately the story, the childhood memory that led me to travel as an adult. Hello everyone, my name is Pay Me in Paella. As you have known, if you've been watching the channel, I've been to over 10, 15 countries at this point. But here's the thing, I not only visited to these countries, but some of them I actually lived in. So I lived in South Korea for a little while, I lived in Turkey for a little while, I lived in different parts of Asia, I lived in Spain for 6 months. So I wanted to let you guys know why I chose to live abroad, right? What inspired me? Well, this was the initial story. Now, once I did my first solo trip as an adult, I was about 19, 20 years old. I was in a school program. They had a guidance teacher come in. Hey, who wants to go to Spain and take college classes? I'm like, I rose my hand fast, super fast. I was probably the first one. I'm like, what? I can get normal class credit, but then live in another country for a little while? I'm like, why wouldn't you do that? But it turns out a lot of people didn't want to do it. But I'm glad I did it because that event ended up changing my life forever. And that's what inspired me ultimately to go see the world. Now, some people may say college is a waste, and I understand that. And some of those points I can actually agree with. But if it wasn't for this particular event in college, I would have never studied abroad in Spain and ended up living there for 6 months. And this is what leapfrogged everything. So you click this video, you're considering living abroad, or maybe you live abroad, the title resonated with you, you're considering going here, there, other places, and you're wondering to yourself, did he feel worried? Was he scared? Did anything bad happen? How was it for him? Was it all, it couldn't have been all peaches and roses, right? That's true. There were bad things that happened, and I do get scared every time. So even though I've been to all these countries, every time before I go, there's a little bit of fear inside of me. I'm just being honest with y'all. So I can give y'all the right expectations. So when you do make your journey, you'll be informed and in the right position. So every time I go, one of the major fears I have is, a communication barrier, right? I will say English is becoming more prevalent now, right? So you don't need to learn, it helps to learn the local language. But typically, you don't need to learn the local languages as if before. So that's a good thing. Another fear I have is just like, what if I don't like it? But I'm here to tell you that even countries that I thought I may not like, or I didn't do much research on, or I didn't know anything of, I found something I liked. Now, there's certain countries that I'll probably never go to again that I've previously been to. However, it was still an enriching experience, and I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I ultimately chose to travel to all these places. And I hope everyone watching this video can go to the places they desire to travel to. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I can help you to the best of my ability. As far as some of the countries I've been to Netherlands, Germany, Canada, Brazil, Spain, obviously all over the States. I've been to like 6, 7, 8 different Asian countries. So 2025, I got some big plans rolling out. I'm going to be traveling more, and I'm even interested in starting a Discord and or a travel group. But enough of that. I just want to give you a reason why I chose to live abroad. Now, the next subject matter I would like to talk about in this video is some of the culture differences and daily challenges. This goes right along with fear, and the reason why I say that is because some people say fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. So you may create scenarios in your mind about what's going to happen. Do they like me? Can I fit in? Is this good? Is this bad? A lot of that is mental. So you have to leave those fears to the best of your ability, limit them, and come into things with a fresh mind. When I came to Spain, I had my typical American mindset. Okay, we got to do this at this time. This is this. We got to work at this speed. Money, money, money. We can't sit around. I quickly realized when I got to Spain, it's a more slower, relaxed pace of life. That's not to say they're right or we're wrong, but that's just to say that you're going to have those challenges or there's cultural differences when you arrive to a new location, especially if it's your first time. I'm here to tell you it's normal. Don't let it make you feel any type of way. There's going to be moments of frustration, upsetness, or sadness. It's normal, and ideally it should pass. Now, I remember times of in Spain. I keep going back to Spain example, which I just dropped a video about that about 2 days ago. So if you click my channel, you'll be able to see the Spain video I did. I may link it in the description here for anyone who wants to review it if they're interested in living in Spain. As you know, I've been there about 3-4 times. Lived there 6 months the first time and then kept going back. That's how much I enjoyed it. But speaking of the cultural differences and the daily challenges, I want to let you know how you can adapt, right? Leave your mindset at the door, right? You're entering someone else's house. Look at each country almost like a house. When you go to a friend's house, a family member's house, a random associate, a colleague, you don't come in and try to command everything and tell them how to run their house. You don't leave it dirty. You respect their rules, right? It's the same when you go to a new country. A lot of times when you see these people who get locked up abroad or they do some silly stuff, they make the news, it's because of something they did, right? I had a video roughly a month ago where I talked about an American man who went to Japan and defaced some of their buildings. Come on, it's like common sense. You wouldn't go in someone's house and damage their equipment, right? So why would you go to another person's country and damage their statues, their monuments, their exhibitions, all that? You got to use some common sense. Now, one of the things we learned in college before I started going to a lot of countries is there's something called hot cultures and cold cultures. Now, when I say this concept, it's not talking about the weather directly. It's talking about the vibes of the people. I'll give you an example. If you go to Spain, they're known for being warm people. And when it comes to warm people, they typically like to touch you when they're talking. Maybe they're more passionate. They maintain eye contact with you. They're not as what you may label socially awkward. They're pretty straightforward. They may invite you over to places. They introduce you to their friends, etc. Then you have certain cultures that we were taught in school would be cold. When they say that people are cold, what they mean by that is, okay, it may take them a while for them to get to know you. They may be short as far as your questions, yes, no questions, not giving you lengthy responses. They may maintain some distance when speaking with you. You may see them break eye contact several times during the conversation, and you may observe this as this person being a little bit strange, but you have to understand that different cultures are different. An example of this would be Japan. I've been to Japan 2 or 3 times, and I noticed the people can be what's called cold. They're not mean, it's just the way they communicate is different from the way we communicate typically in a country like America or a country like Spain or Portugal, France, whatever, right? Their mode of communication is different. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind when you go into these other cultures. Now, the next thing I would like to talk about is the upside of change, new perspectives, and personal growth. When you go to these other countries, it's going to help you become a better person. I understood Spanish culture a lot better once I lived in Spain for 6 months, and those were skills I was able to take back to me in America and translate those in my personal life and my work life. Prior to that trip, I didn't know that many people who came from countries that were conquered by the Spanish. So if I met someone from El Salvador, Cuba, Mexico, etc., there were certain cultural differences that at the time I didn't identify with. I was also younger. I was 17, 18, 19, right? But as I got to learn the culture, I could see, okay, I can see why Mexican culture can be somewhat laid back, and they, have a somewhat of a sarcastic, joking persona. But that comes from the Spanish influence, right? The same way someone could look at certain African countries and see how African Americans in America have certain personality traits is because it came from there, right? And I'm not saying every person from every country is the same. I'm just saying you can see the direct influence. Same way if you go to Germany and you look at some of the Americans from like Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, because there's a great German influence there. Going outside of your comfort zone, living in another country, etc., it's going to make you a better person. I feel like I'm more understanding than ever. I'm not as emotional. I'm more stoic. I'm quicker to listen to people rather than react. And experiencing these different countries and cultures allow me to have a greater understanding of the human mind and all the differences and similarities that we have. Which brings me to my next point, right? Comparing apples to oranges. I want to talk about the pros and cons of each lifestyle. The advantages of living abroad is more than likely you're going to eat healthier food because the food here in America is kind of sick. As you know, I had a health scare a few years ago, and it looks like that was mostly related to the cuisine I was consuming here in America. As far as a con, you may be further away from your family and or friends. So let's say you were born in Florida and then you move to Switzerland. You could be far away from your people, and that could be a con. But on the flip side, you can always meet new family and friends, right? As far as my thoughts on the future, where do I belong and where am I going to take this channel? To the top, obviously. I'll joke. I'll just mess around. I had to throw that in there, right? The whole video was serious. I had to get at least one joke in, right? I don't want everything to sound robotic. But my plan is just continue to upload, be consistent, get better with editing, get better with my voice tone, get better with angles, lightings, get some better camera equipment, all that. I want to keep improving, and I do see myself residing outside of America. I am here now, but shortly I will be going to Asia, and then I plan on checking out a few other places. So I just want to tell everybody thank you for everything you did, and I'm very appreciative. I'm going to keep this channel going. Y'all have a good night.